So YouTube pulled my last stream. I didn't realize it at first. Somebody did leave a comment saying that, so I just didn't notice. I was continuing to watch my video and responding to it, but I guess Jubilee is considered third-party content. So, okay, I don't know. I guess if I'd like highly edited the video and not included everything, then it would have been fine. But because of me streaming it and responding to it like that, I guess that's a problem. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into it further. But anyway, I'm still here doing my nails. So I thought I'd just start a new stream. Let's see who shows up. If anyone. That was rather disappointing, though. I swear, I would have thought that was fair use. But I guess I can only react to small channels and make fun of them. Or I guess I can download TikToks and make fun of those. I'm not sure. That seems to be the way a lot of responders are going. And, I've never really been a response channel. It's only been something that I've been playing around with lately anyway. So I don't know that it's really the best way for me to make content because, I have all this brain doing its thing for better or for worse. Anyway, that video we were watching was quite it really touched on like all of the major like fat acceptance, fat activism points. It was really pushing all those buttons, and they even were bringing up like food deserts there at the end. And a lot of, once they started really talking about them, I was like, well, what is this? And again, it's like people not being accountable to themselves. Life is hard. And I feel like people complain about the fact that it's hard instead of figuring out ways to, deal with the hardness. That just seems to be the case. Like people are just out here now wanting it to be less hard instead of just understanding that life is going to be hard no matter what your path is, and that you just have to figure out, if you're not happy with the way it is, you have to figure out through hardship a way to make it different. But there's no path you're going to walk in life that's going to be without challenges and that's going to be easy. There's a lot of comparison too, and I think like I was seeing that come up quite a bit where they were comparing fat shaming to skinny shaming, and I don't even know like what the concept of shaming. The concept of shaming has like just gone overboard. I feel like people throw away the term shaming all the time, and it doesn't really mean anything. It just means, I guess, that you made somebody feel ashamed. But I've been hearing it like online for years. When I was first making videos, that was like the constant accusation made against me, was that I was shaming, slut shaming or whatever, like, which had nothing to even do with the content itself, but it's just people just throw out this term shaming, and they think that, if they get that to stick, then like you're the baddie. But in reality, shame does need to come back in our culture because there's not enough of it. Like, I've seen some stuff lately. I don't know what to even think of it. I've been like looking at just, it's no wonder people's like mindsets are so skewed, thinking about like the red pill and like the atomization, the feminism. Like people have like really warped perceptions because so many people are out here just putting it all out there without any shame, putting all of their like business, all of their L's, all of everything about their life without any shame, and it's a problem. It really is, because it shows a lack of insight, for one. Like if you can't look at yourself and be like, maybe that's too much, then you've got a problem. Let's see some content I was looking at today. I follow this channel, and he's been doing, what is the name of his channel? I think it's like, I couldn't remember it now. I just started following him recently, but he does these like compilation videos about different trends on like TikTok. And there's like all of these, for example, single mothers on TikTok talking about their dating lives. They just put all this information out there. They put their kids out there, and then they're also like, as mothers, behaving in ways that are like, I don't know, like a bit risque. I'm saying this with as much temperance as I can, but we all know what I mean. Like they're being thoughts, despite the fact that they're like a grown woman with kids to take care of, and like no man around as well. Like they're fishing for attention by, using their sexuality the way women do, but it's kind of like, you need to have some level of discretion. And I think that's something that's sorely lacking. And it's women without discretion are really damaging to themselves and to others. People without discretion generally are, but like when it comes to women, it takes on a whole other, it becomes a whole other monster. I mean, looking at these women, and I also, it's not just that, I also came across like a Facebook page that was posting single mothers like dating ads. And I don't go on apps. I don't do that. I don't do the dating app thing. I date in real life. That's kind of my role. I have to meet somebody through my interests or my activities, and if they're going to be considered for, that. But, a lot of people use the apps, and, it's just looking at a lot of these, and I'm like, man, like it's really grim out here. It's like, and then I'm thinking, like, trying to put myself in the male perspective. Like, if I were a man reading this, like, how would I feel? Like, I was like, I would feel really bleak about women, seeing like this, obviously I know I'm a woman. I have a woman's perspective. Most of my friends are women, I know what, they're not these sorts of women that would do these kinds of things, but like, there's enough of them out there, that if this is, you're participating in the culture and you're kind of, not really, you don't have a network, you don't have a community, and you're just a man kind of looking, I would be demoralized by it. Like I really would, just kind of be seeing what I was seeing. I was demoralized as a person reading it. I was just kind of like, ugh, like, and then trying to put myself in their shoes. I'm like, man, if I were a single mother, the last thing I would do, is put that on advertisement, I would not be putting myself in the position to just like have random men coming into my life, because I would be concerned about my kids. I would be concerned about their safety, for one. I would be concerned about my own safety. Um, I would be concerned about predators, obviously targeting me, um, because I have children. Like, duh, hello. Like that was a big thing to me. I was just like, are these women like unaware that there are men who like would seek them out because they have children? Like, hello. Um, but you know, anyway, like I just, yeah, I was looking at this and it was, but apart from that, I'm like, you know, as you know, your priority should be your kids. Like, if you meet a man who likes you and who is willing to take on you and your kids, like that's great. But like, it doesn't, you know, it just, maybe it was just the arrested development again. You know, I've been talking about that quite a bit on this channel lately. Like, so many people seem to kind of just not be maturing, like not growing up. Um, no, it's definitely, I'm a millennial, so I've definitely been a victim of it myself. You know, I kind of think it was I don't know. I think around the age of 33, though, I got pretty tired of it, and I was like, okay, you know what? I can't keep living the way I'm living. Like, I'm not in my 20s. Um, I need to grow up. I need to kind of get more serious. I need to think about establishing a better life for myself, you know, because what am I going to do? Live this kind of bohemian life forever? Yeah, I know. You were there. Um, so I think maybe that's part of it too, because like there's a lack of maturity in so many people. And yeah, anyway, like I mentioned this guy's channel, so did the thing, he did one on single moms, and then he did one on like women, like older women who were like on TikTok kind of being, stop it, putting it all out there, you know, and just being kind of like behaving kind of like the way that women in their 20s that are just like on the dating scene, you know, do, like taking really racy shots of themselves, you know, having it all hang out, like being kind of vulgar, talking about like, you know, how hot they are and, you know, how many people want to do this, that, and the third to them. Like, and these are like women who like are pushing grandma status. It's like, you know, aren't you like a bit, and I'm not trying to like, again, age, it's, you know, I'm not trying to shame anyone or like, I'm not being ageist here, but it's like at some point, like as a woman, that gets old. I mean, I don't know, but I never really had a phase like that though, I guess in my youth, because, you know, as I've talked about, and as those of you who've watched me for years have known, I used to be fat. So I never really, you know, had that time in my youth where I was, you know, so hot and desirable. And maybe that was for the best. I guess once I did lose weight, more people were interested in me. I did get more like dates and stuff, and more people wanting to be in a relationship with me. But, you know, it's didn't, I still like had a lot of mental growth to do at that time. So I don't know. It's just, but again, like I still wasn't letting it all hang out, let's just say. And I don't really understand that mentality. And like women of any age, I think it's shows a lack of class and a lack of discretion, but it's normal. So a lot of people are doing it. And then today I saw someone kind of related to the video I was watching about it being fat as a choice. Someone I know who has swallowed a lot of this fat acceptance jargon had posted something about saying that a lot of people are fat because they're poor. What are you doing? What, get off the counter. Oh, my cat. I can't go grab him because my nails are getting painted. Yeah, what was she saying? She was saying like a lot of people are fat because they're poor and it's easier or it's cheaper to buy a frozen pizza than to like cook a healthy meal and yada, yada, yada. And then I'm like, just, this stuff falls apart immediately, like once you just dissect it slightly. The cost of a frozen pizza, I don't know about where you all are, but like to me, a frozen pizza is like, I had one today. It was a smaller, like organic one from Whole Foods. You need to knock it off. I cannot play with you right now. You know I'm doing my nails. I tried to play with you earlier. You wouldn't play with me. And now you have the audacity when I'm here doing my nails. Look at them. They're wet. I can't play with you. You wouldn't play with me earlier anyway. You went and hid. You weren't fun to play with. Where was I? I was talking about like frozen pizza. Yeah, I had a frozen pizza for lunch today. It was good. It was like a Greek style with olives, a bunch of different kinds of olives on it. So good. That being said, like, yeah, I was listening to that and I was kind of just like, for the cost of a frozen pizza, like you can get so much good food. It just doesn't pan out. It's like, I've seen it too with like fat acceptance people talking about like how the cost of healthy food is prohibited, and it's really not. It isn't. Like healthy food is cheaper. It really is. Like real whole foods are cheaper than fake processed crap. Like especially like thinking, I talked about Doritos on a recent stream. I had a little snack pack of Doritos a few weeks ago and then like had serious cravings for them for, days and days. Never again. But, if I were to go to the store right now, I can guarantee that bag of Doritos is going to be like $6 or $7 and it has no nutritional value. Whereas I could get so much decent food for $6 or $7. Like I could get probably a couple meals, food to make several meals for that. So this stuff kind of falls apart and there's just so many excuses and it's all based on like making a victim of the self. Like, oh, I'm poor and I don't feel good, so I'm just going to do this. And I'm not saying like, for example, the frozen pizza thing. My frozen pizza was good. It wasn't the healthiest choice, but, it also wasn't a terrible choice for me. And, given I had that and I had like a small breakfast and some coffee and, that's it for me today. Like, I'm not going to eat anything else. That's it. You just still, even if you are like eating things that aren't like the healthiest, you can still temper what you're eating. Ryan, get real. You can't seem to get over this apparent hatred of fat people. You didn't want to be fat, so you stopped. Good for you. Just live and let live. And see, what I can't get over is the lies about it. That's the lies and the denial about it. That's what bothers me. It's not the fact that people are fat. It's the fact that they lie about the reasons for being fat. And they make it seem as though weight loss is impossible, or that you have to starve, or that you can't eat foods that you like. And it's a lie. And that lie is believed and accepted by a lot of people. And that lie keeps them fat. And that remaining fat makes them have health problems. You know, it exacerbates the problems that they already have and makes those worse and leads to further health problems. And, you know, apart from even that, because you're talking about the people who want to be fat. You should not want to be fat. People should not want to be fat. It is not good to be fat. It's bad for you. It's bad for society generally. The fact that we have an obesity crisis in the US, we're going to have so many more people that are going to end up with chronic illnesses, all kinds of complex health issues, on dialysis, having limbs amputated due to diabetes. You know, it's cute when you're 20. It's not so cute when you're 40 and you're facing down all kinds of health issues that could have been avoided. You know, it's not. If people want to be fat, they're just coping, you know, and it's not something that I'm going to be like okay with. You know, you say I didn't want to be fat, so I stopped. First off, I worked very hard to change my mindset and my choices and my eating habits. So saying I just stopped, like, no, I had to overcome. And I want that for other fat people, because I want them to live healthier, happier lives, because they deserve that, because they're human beings and they have a lot more to offer, and they deserve to have people encouraging them instead of just enabling them. What the hell are you getting into? How'd you get that? You're not going to get no more food, baby. That's not going to happen. Yeah, I know frozen pizza has the frozen pizza inflation is real. Okay. When they were talking about eggs, when they were talking about all the other stuff, I wasn't really noticing, but yeah, frozen pizza has the inflation on it is real. And you know what? It's okay with me because I don't need to be eating that much frozen pizza. I mean, the frozen pizza I had today was like $6 for this tiny little pizza. No, there's nothing in there for you, baby. There's nothing. How did you even get that? Did you go in the trash? Are you a trash baby? Ugh. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I get being exhausted and not wanting to cook. But I feel like too, when I was fat, I used to cook way more. I don't cook much myself. Currently, I just make better choices about what I eat, and I, eat less. For me, myself, I think I cooked a little bit yesterday. I had a burger with some avocado toast for my lunch. That I cooked that. That was something I cooked, but it really wasn't much to cook. It really wasn't complicated on my part. But it was delicious. I tell you, I was enjoying that meal. Same money, less fat. Yes, yes. The frozen pizza inflation. God, we really are struggling as a nation if we can't like bring back the dollar Tostinos, man. Yeah, that too. That too. Like I used to be like always worried about food now, and now I'm like, I eat when I am hungry, or like I even, and I don't feel like, I don't know, I don't feel hungry like the ways I used to. Like before I was, it was so habitual. It's like, oh, got to get my 3 meals. And I didn't need the 3 meals. I've said this before, like people don't really need 3 meals. Most people living a modern lifestyle, if you're like sitting on your butt all day in front of a computer, you don't need to be eating that many calories. You need to eat less. If you're trying to eat a 2,000 to 2,500 calorie day, you're going to be putting on weight because your body's not using that. Oh, honey, you're irritating me with that. Don't play with that. He had this bag of treats that ran out yesterday. I gave him the last of them, and he somehow, I guess, pulled the little baggie that they were in out of the trash, and he's now playing with that, which is super disappointing as, his human. I thought my cat was better than that, but I have a dirty little trashy cat that plays with trash. Don't I? Look at me. Look at me. Do you play with trash, you trashy boy? Okay, so got glittery greens here. They're kind of festive. I didn't do the one red nail. I don't know if I'll put another coat of the glitter on. I like it. It's a nice bluish glitter. This is it. It's called House is Lit. But when I saw it on Amazon, it was called like Merry Christmas. So I don't know. It's a nice glittery, not top coat though, because I can tell it's not top coat because it's like rough and it's still kind of tacky. So I can't. Yeah, my cat. But anyway, yeah, I like green. Green is a nice color. This is a nice green. Where is it? Picked this up at the Target before they closed. They closed my local Target. It's so unfair. Now I have to travel even farther to get nail polish and such. But yeah, it's I love Sally Hansen. Just say that. Not a sponsored video, although if Sally Hansen wants to sponsor me, go ahead and reach out. I know one of you are out there watching. But yeah, the Insta Dry, I love this line, especially for me because it's like, I don't know, like sometimes, it takes forever for your nails to dry. So I wouldn't say that they dry instantly, but they dry a lot quicker than with most nail polishes. But yeah, this color is called Later Gator. I just thought it was really, I don't know, I liked the color. I had a heck of a time opening it though. So yeah, that layered with a little bit of glitter on top for the Christmassy feel. So yeah, those are my Christmas nails, I guess. And I had to cut my nails recently. So I don't know if you all saw, those of you watching, but they were pretty long. But I had two, this one and then my thumb broke in the same week. And it was just, I tried to save them. I was like trying to baby them, but they kept catching on everything. And as I was like washing my hair kept getting like caught in it. And I I couldn't deal with it. I had to cut them off, unfortunately. I was very upset because they were very long and like very cool looking, and I was enjoying them, but it happens, you know, they grow out and eventually they will break. So starting over again, I'm sure in a few weeks' time they'll start to get long again. My nails tend to grow pretty quickly, and the supplements I'm on help as well. I take MSM, a B vitamin supplement, vitamin D, some other stuff as well. So it does help with the MSM, especially helps with like hair and nail growth. So yeah, now he's just laying on the little empty treat bag, defiantly looking at me, acting pitiful. Are you being pitiful? You pitiful? You pitiful cat? So pitiful. Yeah, was there anything else I want to talk about? Yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, people's mindsets are very skewed by like the algorithms, I guess, and it can be really demoralizing. And I was kind of like, as I stated, trying to put myself in like the mindset of a man like looking at this stuff, and I'm like, well, no wonder they're getting sucked into this like red pill content, you know, this like He-Man woman haters BS, because like all they're seeing of women is just like daunting. And it's so easy to just like take a microcosm of like thoughts online, and if you just put them back to back together, it looks bad. You know, it looks terrible. If that's all you see of women, and you're already demoralized because, you know, you've had a few like failed relationships, what have you, and you see like all of that's the thing, it's like the worst aspects really do come out online in some of the like content, you know, that people upload. And I just also wonder like, how people feel comfortable sharing so much. You know, I definitely have overshared before in the past. So I know that I understand how it happens, but like there's oversharing about like your life and experiences, and then there's like oversharing about things that are so intimate that they really should never be discussed in front of a camera. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that kind of oversharing is kind of, it's frightening to see. And it's, you know, just the way, and like that kind of discussion, that kind of talk, that kind of information really should only be shared in private with somebody that you intend to like be intimate with. And even then I wonder, you know, like even then I'm like, should you even say that kind of stuff? But then I wonder too, like, you know, there's so much in our culture leading into this. There's obviously we've lived in a porn culture for decades now. It's that influences people. Like it really does. People even, you know, even a little bit of exposure to porn, like does do things to like the mind. It tends to warp it. So if you like imagine you were raised in this culture and you had no pushback against that, and you just think it's totally normal and nothing, you know, your family never gave you any cause to, you know, be critical about it. You know, you never had any sort of like religious backing, you know, challenging it, and you've just kind of accepted it. You know, I can just imagine how warped the mindset and thinking could get. And then, you know, then there's, of course, like the baby mama culture and the normalization of single parenthood and people living together without getting married and having kids without getting married. It's just a mess. And it's demoralizing. And I think like a lot of people now are kind of like wanting more. Like, really, I see it. Like, I see it all the time. Like, people are like looking at this modern culture and what it offers, and they know it's empty. They're demoralized by it, but they also feel like that's all there is, and that, you know, finding somebody who isn't like that is just would be rather difficult. So I don't know, it's been interesting, you know, trying, like, viewing this stuff and kind of trying to think about it, like having my own reactions as a woman, which are just like shock, horror, and disgust, and then thinking like, well, you know, how does this fit into like what men are doing online and like the manosphere, and you know, how is it feeding that? Because it's like these things create each other, you know. There is an interplay happening between the two, you know. They feed one another. So like the more men get into that, the more, you know, I think women react. The more women react, then the more men react. It's just like this constant like back and forth, and it's, to me, it's so ugly. And then I'm thinking too about like my kind of like delving and exploration and time spent in the radical feminist sphere, which I also feel is like a big response to that. It's and like I said, you know, if you are alienated by this culture, there's just so many like internet like cults that you can get sucked into, like really, that will have you turned into like a radical extremist about things you haven't even experienced or understood for yourself, which is like a lot of the manosphere. Like I've seen it a ton. Like now they're like going on about why you should never marry a woman, you know, or why you should never get married. Even though that's terrible advice, you know, marriage benefits society as a whole, and it benefits the people who participate in it specifically well. It's the best way to raise children is in a two-parent household, you know, that's stable. But that's kind of, yeah, it's wild. And then there's like the opposite side of that. And, you know, there's women out here like scheming on how to like game men and get everything they can out of them. It's just, it's so toxic, you know, thinking about it. Like, it really is. Like, there's no concept of the fact that at some point human beings have to like grow up and live for others to a certain extent, which is, you know, what you do when you agree to get married and like have kids and that kind of thing. Like, you are committing to live for others. But we have a very, I think, selfish culture as well that just encourages people to remain selfish and kind of remain in an infantile state, like to never mature, which again leads into these like videos, like the single moms looking for studs videos, or like the women in their 50s like letting it all hang out, like flopping around, having their ladies, you know, out posing sexily, that kind of thing. Like, all of this stuff is just kind of like, I'm taking it all in, you know, and kind of like trying to, I don't know if I'm making much sense. here, but I see like the way that it's all kind of like feeding itself. It's this, it's the Ouroboros, the internet Ouroboros, like what we've created, this snake eating its own tail, you know, and we all get caught up in it to some sort of degree, and it's nasty. Oh, sorry, y'all been commenting. Thank you for saying my observation was interesting. I don't remember which one it was. It is intimidating. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, my strategy is currently just meet people in person, you know, get out in the real world, meet people, do things, you know, and establish real relationships. And like I talked about, let's see, last month I went on a date with someone from church. He asked me on a date, and I agreed to it, and it was really lovely, you know. And I don't think that he and I necessarily are, I don't think we're like gonna get married, you know what I mean? Like I don't think that it's gonna end up being something like that. There's a lot of things, you know, that kind of would be a barrier to that. But let me tell you, it was such a nice experience to just know that I've like built this relationship with this person over time, because I've known him for over a year now. You know, that's the way it should be. We should get to know people, and then, you know, and then kind of like build on that. It's, you know, we should have people in our life and community, people that we're connected to in real life. I think there's a lot more respect when you meet people that way, because I don't know, for one, I don't know, I've always been against the dating app and like dating thing like online though, because like I said, it's like shopping. You know, why would I treat dating like shopping? It's not. And why would I treat myself like, you know, a good that one could just like swipe and procure? Like I'm not. I'm really not. Like not only that, it's like also just, I don't know. I think people become more disposable when you don't really know them and you don't have any connection to them. Whereas if you do have some sort of connection to them from the real world, they become more important to you. They become more valuable to you. Like how you treat them matters, you know. The way you interact with one another matters more. And I think a lot of the way that people act so disposable has a lot to do with that dating app culture. It's like, oh well, I can just go on and get a new one, and it gives you this like artificial abundance mindset, like, oh yeah, there's just so many options. And it's like, there aren't really though, because most of the people on there you're not going to even be interested in the first place. It is beautiful. It's nice to go out with somebody who like likes you and respects you. I don't know. I feel like Shira 7 is, maybe it's just because I've watched her for so many years, but I don't feel like she is like Andrew Tate. And I feel like if you watch clips of her, she seems outrageous. But if you get into like the full message of what she's talking about, I don't think what she's talking about is pretty reasonable. I think the problem though is that a lot of the women watching her have like really ridiculous expectations. I mean, I remember there were a lot of women in that like level up community that were coming for her and making fun of her because her husband is middle class, you know, not really understanding that a middle class man is perfectly positioned to provide for a wife and children. Like, she never claimed to be anything but, you know? And she's also, I mean, I think this is how I feel about it. Like, in terms of marriage, that's what a woman should be seeking. You know, you should be seeking someone who is, you know, of that mindset that he's going to be a provider, because even if you are working or you intend to work, like if you have a child, if you get pregnant, you have no idea how you're going to feel. And you want to definitely be with someone who's able to take on that responsibility and who wants to. You know, that's the other thing too. You want to be with somebody who's generous. And I think in the current dating environment, a lot of the times it's women who are the providers. And that gets women nowhere. It gets the women nowhere and it gets men nowhere. It's harmful to both sexes, honestly, because it's harmful to women because it devalues us. It devalues, you know, what we bring and what we offer. And it devalues men because they never reach their full potential, because their wives and girlfriends are more like their mothers. So they tend to have, the relationships are just never as good when that's the dynamic. So I think Shira is correct in encouraging women to seek providers, and also encouraging women to level up and to be their best. I don't think, I mean, she gives the same advice to men about like how to improve themselves and, you know, improve their lives. You know, there are men in her chat that routinely thank her. It's not as if she's out here like, I don't know. Although, I mean, no, I should say sometimes women ask her for advice about how to scam men, and she does like give them advice. So, okay, I will say that. Yeah, she does do that. But it is funny because they'll be like, "Oh, what kind of lie should I tell to get him to da 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 da?" And she can just out of nowhere, out of the like ether of her mind, come up with the most like outrageous thing, and it's hilarious. If women take the advice, I mean, I don't know. It's not the way that I behave, you know, and I'm not looking for, you know, I don't expect that if I'm, you know, just meeting a man that he's gonna like start paying all my bills or that kind of thing, you know. I think that's a bit ridiculous. But, you know, if you're marrying someone, like, I think they should be able to do that, you know. That's just my feeling about it. But I do think women shouldn't have an entitled attitude with men either about that, because that doesn't get you anywhere either. And, you know, you shouldn't be using men in that fashion. I feel like if you don't want to be used as a woman for like what have you, like don't use someone else. That's how I feel. I feel people should have positive intentions when they date and get into relationships. Unfortunately, most people don't. And a lot of the times they're not even aware. That I think that's the thing too. A lot of people aren't even aware that they have negative intentions, or that their intentions are not positive towards the other person. But if you have negative intentions, that's what you go into it like that. That's what you're going to get out of it. At least that's what I found on my journey. Yeah. Again, yeah, it's the other way around. Although, you know what? I don't know much about Andrew Tate, but I just know that he had admitted to pimping women, and I think that that's just a line for me, you know. Like, I don't know if he has done it recently. It sounds like there's some suspicion about, you know, his arrest and whether that was legitimate or not. But again, I haven't looked really into it, what he's been doing recently and why he got arrested in Romania. I'm not sure. So I can't really speak to that, but he admitted to doing it years ago, and like he doesn't seem to have any remorse about it. So that to me is like vile. Like this is the thing too, like, you know, the dark side of women is women can be very dark and terrible too, but like that dark side of men, like it gets to those kind of levels, and it's like I do feel like Shira helps kind of, I don't know, elevate that. And, you know, she does give out good advice overwhelmingly, like game, and kind of, in my experience, a lot of what she talks about, you know, I'm sure any women watching this have experienced this, where men seek to devalue you, you know, in the dating process so that they can get access to you. You know, a guy will be in, I've had it happen, you know, multiple times where a guy is interested in me. He really is not someone that I would consider, or, you know, he doesn't have anything going on for himself. And, you know, what he'll do is like, you know, he'll obviously be interested, but he'll try to find some way to like put me down or devalue me, or like act like I'm stuck up or arrogant because I know that he's not the man for me in some, you know, in some way, to make me feel bad so that I will, you know, magically become interested, you know. And obviously I'm hip to that game, but it's a game, and a lot of women aren't hip to it, and a lot of women do succumb to it. They think, oh, you know, he thinks I'm arrogant. He thinks I'm full of myself. And it's like, no, like I have eyes, I see what you see. And, you know, I make it clear, like you know, how do I put this? Like, if you have confidence as a woman about certain things about yourself, about your appearance, about whatever they seek to compliment you about, you'd be like, oh, thank you. I know, da, da, da. Like, and I'm very, you know, I don't think I'm being arrogant if I agree with a compliment or something like that. But some people seem to think that. And then they use it as an opportunity to put you down. And then immediately I'm like, okay, red flag. Why is this guy like giving me a compliment and then taking it back in some way? It's not going to work. But anyway, there's so many other ways. I mean, there's, again, like the internet is rife with these podcasts where men, you know, bring on the most imbecilic, you know, women who often are like employed in the sex industry. We'll just say that. I mean, let's talk about like that. The number of podcasts where like they have some red-pilled guys, and then the guests are always women who are sex workers. And then they have a conversation about dating, as if like either of them are qualified to talk about dating, because like sex workers are not dating for anything but money. Hello. And they're not dating for anything. The men aren't dating for anything other than their own egos. So like, then they get into these conversations that like don't really even have anything to do with the average person. But these men, you know, they just love sitting there and like devaluing these women. You just watch it. They'll like ask them to rate themselves, and then they'll be like, oh, well, you think that? You're like really more like this. Like, it's just so, I don't know, like the whole rating system is quite wild to me. I've never really understood it, maybe from my own perspective, because I'm like, I would never even think in those terms, you know, like I'm going to put a number on myself in terms of attractiveness. You know, I can't do it. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, nor would I can I do that to other people, like put a number on it that like I guess because they're men and they like are into math or something. They like numbers in that way, so they like to play around that way, but I don't know. I find it like really odd cuz to me, yeah, it's dehumanizing, but like the question isn't to me like what number am I? The question to me is, are you attracted to me? Like, if you're attracted to me, we can work with that. If you're not attracted to me, oh well. Like, you know what I mean? I don't see it any other way. Like, what does it matter? Either you're attracted or you aren't. And not everybody's going to be attracted to someone. And a woman that's a 10, you could be a 10 or whatever, that, you know, ideal. Like, I'm trying to envision in my mind what the ideal is, but there's just so many like different kinds of women that are coming up that are 10s, you know, to me. Like, so, but I'm like thinking like maybe supermodel pretty or something, you know, or Hollywood actress pretty kind of, you know. Okay, like if that's a 10, right? Okay, that's great, you know. But not everyone is going to be attracted to those women, you know. The most beautiful women in the world, not everyone is attracted to them. Like, so why even put yourself out in that way or think of yourself that way? It's dehumanizing, and it's also like stupid because it's irrelevant, I think. You're either attracted or you aren't. And that's really what you're working with. It's not anything else, because you can be the most beautiful woman, but if they're not attracted to you, they aren't attracted to you. If you're a blonde and they like brunettes, like, you know what I mean? If you've got dark eyes and they like light eyes. Oh, this is an interesting question. Do you believe there are women out there who have an inflated, almost narcissistic sense of self because they're conventionally attractive and get attention from men? Yeah, probably. I mean, probably. I mean, I don't know if it's I don't know that the narcissism is caused by being attractive to men though. You know what I mean? Like, I think I think narcissism is something else. Like, if we're going to get into that, like, our narcissistic tendencies, like, yeah, I will say that there are a lot of men out there who will grass up women. This is typically the mentality of the women who go on dating shows like Fresh and Fit. Yeah, maybe. And, you know, that maybe that could be it. But, you know, the guys on that show, like the Fresh and Fit guys, seem to have an inflated narcissistic sense of self as well. So like they're perfectly matched. Pardon me. I'm wondering if I want to have another sip of my sparkling water. I mean, I think, you know, if you are in the game where you sell your body for money, like if you're selling, you know, photographs of yourself or videos of yourself, what have you, like for money, and most of the men you interact with are like interacting with you in that fashion, you know, that, yeah, I mean, it would kind of warp your perception. Like, you know, your experiences, you know, our perceptions definitely come down to our experiences a lot of the time. So, you know, if your experience as a woman is that the men you interact with are all kind of like panting and drooling after you and, you know, hand over fist giving you money for like what to you seems like nothing, yeah, it's gonna inflate your ego a bit. I mean, that does happen oftentimes. Like, um, but at the same time, like, there's a dark side to like, well, I mean, that's dark in and of itself, but like the home mentality is pretty dark. You know what I mean? Like, just women I've known over the years, um, because of the way that they interact with men, they tend to get a very skewed perception of men, and they see all men as like Johns, and they project what Johns do onto like all men as well. So I don't know. It's with this current era of like Instagram model, OnlyFans model kind of culture. I think, yeah, these women probably do have their sense of self, and their ego is probably very inflated by the fact that men are so willing to pay for them in some capacity. I mean, it's flattering. Attention is always flattering. Like, I love attention. When people compliment me, I love it. I'm like, yeah. When people like, are delighted by me, it definitely gives one a little boost for sure. Um, so yeah, I think that's probably part of it, definitely. But again, yeah, like, but the thing is, like, normal people are consuming this content. Like, that's the thing. Like, normal young men, especially, get in on the manosphere, and they're learning, about how to be a man, engaging in like an online men's community overwhelmingly. They see stuff like that, and it warps their perception, and um it's, yeah. And the advice that those guys give out too is like, it's very troubling. Like, they act as though they encourage men to like be promiscuous, is what I'm saying, is the gist of it. Like, a lot of that, and they pretend like it's acceptable for men to be promiscuous, but obviously if women are promiscuous, that is terrible. And I do think that there's a difference, obviously, in how we, as sexes react to it. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's good for either sex to be promiscuous, apart from like the risk factor of it alone, unwanted pregnancies and STDs. There's also just like the emotional ramifications. So I think, yeah, we have some pretty dark mirrors going on here, as you said, because they mirror each other. S.A. Brady says, happens when you're delighting, though. I mean, yeah, I try to be. I try to be. I try to be delightful. I try to be an experience, which is, again, why I prefer dating in real life, meeting people in real life, because, if they actually know you, you're a person to them, you're not just, and they can feel your energy. Like, they know that it's good or not. That's the thing. Like, if you like observe and like, see a person regularly for some time, and like they're in your community, and you're interacting with them, it's you grow to understand them better. Like, you can appreciate them more. You can come to like really like them, as a person, which is important, because I think, yeah, a lot of the times we're not even learning how to like people. Like, we're not even figuring out like whether we like someone or not. Like it's all about am I attracted to them? Like I'm like, well, you need to slow down and figure out if you even like them because you know that's what matters. If you don't even like the person, like you're not going to go anywhere meaningful with them. It's going to be a disaster because your personalities are going to clash. They're going to get on your nerves, and no amount of beauty or money is going to like make up for that. But yeah, I think like there is, like I said, the feminine and the masculine are marrying each other in some really dark ways right now, and it's we really do need to think about how we're showing up in the world as men and women because of it, because like we have to be the change. I think that for me was big, kind of as I kind of had an awakening and kind of came to awareness about this stuff. I just realized I'm like, I want to be a woman that is upright. Like I want to be a woman who's doing things the right way. I don't want to be out here like spreading discord and confusion. I don't want to be out here like encouraging people to remain in their misery and remain like unhealed and trapped in their trauma and all that nonsense that like encouraging, people to remain victims for all their life and like always point the finger in the opposite direction. And that's what's being fostered in both of the sexes right now, and it's not good. Galileo, hi, good to see you here. Should I pray for a wife? I'm not sure, but God knows what's best for me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I mean, you pray to God for anything, right? You can pray to God for anything, but like in the meantime, what are you doing? I think that's, yes, pray, ask the Lord for what you want, but also like make sure that your daily actions are in accordance with that, make sure that you're, if you want God to bring you a wife, you better be involved in a local church for one. You better be doing some kind of ministry. You better be like serving the Lord in some way. Like how is he supposed to give you a wife if, you're not serving him? And what are you looking for ultimately? You have to think about that as well. Like I think that's what it's about as too. Yeah. I don't know. Like I've said like, I want to be married, but I too know like I still think, am I ready for that? Am I ready to like take on that kind of responsibility too? That's another question you have to ask yourself. And if not, then like pray for it, but do what needs to be done to facilitate that because it's, I think relationships aren't easy, and marriage especially is not easy. It's a difficult calling, but it is a higher calling, and it's something that, requires you to be more than what you are. So I don't know, it's an interesting question. Of course, we should pray for God about everything. He hears our prayers, and it's so difficult though in this culture, isn't it? Like I think about it, like everyone I know who wants to be married, like they're struggling to find someone. Like, and I think about how it was for even our parents' generation. It seemed to be so much more easier for them, let alone our grandparents. It's like, what are we going to like? What is it about us? Like, and it's not everyone because then you do see a lot of people are married. But it seems to be I don't know. I don't know. There just seems to be difficulties with it. Well, I don't know. I'm assuming that you're a similar generation to me. I don't know for sure, but hmm. Yeah, I think prayer is important, but action is also important. You have to be in the world, doing things to meet people. I think that's the most important thing. Try to build a community around yourself. Try to make sure that you are doing things that you know you're likely to meet someone in. Um, yeah, I think I should probably get going. I'm feeling a little bit. I don't know. I guess I'm tired. Feel like I should retire. I should take off my earrings, take off my makeup, get into my night clothes, and get into bed. I'm feeling kind of like another early evening. It's the start of winter. I don't know how you all are feeling, but like last night I went to bed super early, and I think it's not terribly early, but I feel like tonight is probably we'll get into bed before 9 for sure. Even 9 is my usual bedtime, but I think today we'll try to hit it for them. Of course, God knows what's best for you. Of course. And um it's really just it comes down to service, and like if you're serving God and God wants to bring you someone, you'll meet someone. You know what I mean? Hope I sleep nice. Me too, because I don't sleep nice usually, y'all. I have a lot of trouble sleeping. Last night, I don't know, I woke up probably 3 or 4 times. It's just, it's difficult. I'm uncomfortable, like I'm in pain. It's the, moving around. It's a hassle. I don't know how to describe it. Like I get in bed and then I have to like move around and try to get comfortable, and that takes forever. And then like when I finally doze off, I like sleep for a little bit, but then I wake up and then I have to like toss and turn again until I haven't gotten like a really nice, just steady sleep in so long. It used to be like I would wake up maybe once in the night, and it's so I think, yeah, just trying to get into bed earlier helps. The more time I'm in there, at least, my body's at least getting, some rest. Not that I like exert it much as it is, but it's frustrating. It's like, and this is again like why I talk about these issues of like the fat acceptance, all of that nonsense. It's just, don't take your health for granted, people. Like, you don't want to be in a position where like your body is literally like so messed up. And that's the thing about like obesity. You can have sleep apnea is common. People not being able to breathe in their sleep. People like you don't get good sleep when you're like constantly dealing with that. It's just I don't know. I wish had that person in here earlier just like being so dismissive. It's frustrating. Yeah, but it's difficult for me to exercise. I can only do a few things because of like my body anyway. So I don't know. It's not so simple. Like for me, it's it's a combination of factors. It's like, the getting comfortable which takes forever. I have to like toss and turn and like move my body about a few times, before I kind of get settled and comfortable enough to doze off. And then there's like, because I move around so much in my sleep, my blankets like often will come off partially. So then I'll be cold and then I'll like get under them and then I'll get too hot. And so it's just like, it's this constant sleep is, it's difficult in the summer and it's difficult in the winter, like, and I'm not somebody that can like sleep with like a bunch of stuff. I can't wear like pajamas to bed. Like that's totally uncomfortable. I have to like sleep in a nightgown. So it's just, I get cold sometimes if like the blankets come off. And then there's the cat next to me and he's huffing and puffing because I'm driving him nuts with my like movement. And, then we kind of like have swivels and squabbles because he wants to be on the outside. And sometimes like I want to move around and then like get my body into a certain position. And like, it's a decent sized bed, but like still we struggle. So yeah, I mean, just saying, yeah, I feel successful people do sleep early. They sleep early and they get up early too. So, I mean, I just try to stay on that path, go to bed early, get up early. Napoleon slept like 5 hours a night. Well, that's good to know. I mean, yeah, I probably get that. Who knows? I mean, last night I was really struggling. I was like tossing and turning and like I woke up in the middle of the night and I was up for a while in bed, just like trying to get myself comfortable and back to sleep. And it took forever. And I didn't think it would happen, but then I did finally doze off. And then when my alarm went off, I was all irritated. Yeah, this is a good point. I think we'll finish on. I think that's right. Exactly. I mean, society cannot continue without men and women. Like, if we're not getting along, if we're hating one another, like, it's just stupid. It's so stupid. It's so infantile, too. That's the thing. It's another one of these infantile things in the culture. Like, I don't like boys. Oh, I don't like girls. Like, come on, let's grow up. Come on. We're adults. We're adults. We do like each other. Let's stop pretending we don't. The thin line between love and hate, right? If someone's like legitimately hating the opposite sex, like it's guaranteed there's, some this is very strong feelings there. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and people do, but yeah, it's so funny. Like men will hate women and yet still pursue them, and women will hate men and still pursue them. And it's like, what are you doing? You're hurting them and you're hurting yourself. You're making yourself miserable and you're making them miserable. And for what? Like, if you really feel the way you do, you would avoid them. But again, it's like a thin line between love and hate. Like they don't really, like, if they worked on themselves, they would come to see that the issue is not outside of them, the issue is within them, that they need to resolve and that they need to overcome that, but hard to do when like you have an echo chamber like reinforcing and validating all of your like hatred and your what's the word I'm looking for? Like validating all of your victimization, feelings of victimization, like it's not healthy. Like, you know, you got to get away from that. You got to get away from all of it, and you got to like think for yourself. And like the reality is, if you're still pursuing relationships like with opposite sex, it's because deep down that's what you want. You want a normal, healthy relationship, but you aren't normal or healthy. You're twisted, and you're dating someone that's twisted, and it's only ever going to be chaotic. And that's just how it is. But anyway, yeah, thanks for joining me again. Very irritated about my last stream. Very irritated about that. I wanted to finish watching that video, respond to it, but I guess, you know, the copyright strike came for me. So disappointing. Yes. But good night, y'all. I hope you all have a good evening. Yes. And the future is for loving hearts. Indeed, it feels much better to be out in the world with a pure heart. Like, it just does. And if other people are not that way, don't let that stop you from being you and being who you are. All right. Yes. Thank you. You too. Have a good night, y'all.